Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So another quick look at a unusual pistol today. You do see these about sometimes, but they're often overlooked, mainly because there isn't really a lot of aftermarket support for them. It's a Marui pistol, and I'm talking about the px4 Custom in this case. As far as I'm aware, all the ones I've seen all just say px4 Custom, so it's probably just the only model that Marui do. Correct me if I'm wrong though. If you know different, let me know. So what we've got here is a Beretta base pistol, obviously replicated by Marui here. An unusual offering as well. The other platforms we see from Marui in the Beretta form are, we have the Samurai, which is that one. Actually, I think the Samurai is the WE, what they call the WE call it. But it's the one that was made for, I think it was one of the games, the Resident Evil games, the sort of Barry Burton, I think it was, looking 92 M9. Obviously, Marui also do their M9 or 92 FS, which is obviously the US military pistol, and they do this one here. I haven't seen the other ones. I could be forgetting some. Let me know if you know different. But this is the px4. Now, this particular px4 is a little different than other ones you would see. Like a lot of my pistols, I like to try to make them, especially the Marui ones, a little bit more realistic. When I say realistic, this is Airsoft after all. But this one has metal slide. Now, if you know anything about the px4 platform, or you've had one and you've looked for upgrades before, you'll probably know there aren't many metal slides for these. In fact, the only metal slides that I'm aware of, I think there was a Prime kit back in the day. I haven't seen one of those for years. And SRU, SR Union they're otherwise known as, do a metal slide for the WE Bulldog Shorty, which is a much shorter version of this, which Marui actually never made, but WE did their own version. Now we're speaking about the WE, it's worth mentioning the elephant in the room here, which is this metal slide, because this metal slide is actually from a WE. Now, WE tend to, when I say copy Marui, they do copy them, but they do tend to do things slightly differently. Their hk3p series, for example, is based around the same system, but how they assemble the pistol is a bit different. The Glock, again, that is again based around the same system. However, they're slightly out of spec to Marui. It's the same across quite a few of their other pistols they make. They're generally, some form of clone of something Marui have done, but they put their own twist on it. The WE version of this, which I believe is known as the Bulldog, is actually a direct clone. As far as I can tell, having had both of them apart before, they're identical internally. The only thing I've noticed is the trigger is a slightly different shape on the WE version. Now, again, as you can see on this one, we've got some trademarks on the slide here, which the keen-eyed among you would have maybe noticed. And you're probably thinking, well, hold on a minute, Marui never put any kind of trademarks on their pistols. You can order certain ones from KY Airsoft with the trademarks on, but not any of these. So you're probably wondering where I got that from then. Which we come towards this. This is a company called hk3p. People among you that have been around for a little while might remember these being for sale. As far as I'm aware, you can't get them anymore. But this is actually WE. WE wanted to make some, or this is my understanding of the situation, wanted to make some pistols with trademarks on, and they didn't really want to attach their name to them, I guess, in case they got pulled up for copyright. So essentially they released the same model but with trademarks. So this is my trademarked model, and these were known as the hk3p, which I may not have already mentioned. Now, on this one, we can see it's slightly different because it has a sort of chrome slide. In the box, you also get some back straps and a spare magazine, or this one comes with a spare magazine, whereas the original only had one. So, you can see that this is the hk3p. Now, this has a metal slide, it has a metal outer barrel, metal trigger, metal hammer, metal sights, metal safety levers, metal guide rod, metal magazine release, and metal slide release. Now, this one is the Toka Marui. Now, if you notice, the polymers are different. This is standard Toka Marui style polymer, whereas this is the slightly nicer stuff that WE use. And if we look on the other side, you can see we've got Toka Marui, made in Japan on here, whereas on this one, we have all the information about the real steel pistol. So that's how I went around the route of getting and sourcing myself a metal slide for this. I got a Boneyard hk3p, which happened to have the metal slide on it, because that's what they come with. Got that, and then thought I'd try and modify it to fit. Turns out I didn't have to modify it at all. I literally just slapped it straight on. Comparing both the Toka Marui and this upper, it's identical. The materials are slightly different, but other than that, it's identical. Obviously, the Toka Marui one is a plastic slide with a plastic outer barrel. It has all the metal bits and pieces on it, like the sights and the magazine, the safety levers. But other than that, it's identical inside. So it literally slid straight on. I was amazed. So while I had the two together, I thought I'd sort of take them apart and see if there were any differences. And again, I could find absolutely no differences, apart from the trigger shape was slightly different on the WE or hk3p version. So there's a few interesting parts on the px4. Like I said to you before, we've got some nice trademarks here. The Beretta logo down here. Notice it doesn't actually say Beretta on it anywhere, which I was quite surprised by, actually. Even on the hk3p, no Beretta markings at all, just the logos. But yeah, it's essentially the slightly newer style pistols that Beretta were starting to release, with the polymer lowers and the metal uppers. Moving away from the M9 or 92F with the metal lower and metal upper. They also did the 8000, I think they called it the Cougar. That also was a metal upper and lower. Obviously, this was their first real move into polymer-based pistols. Now, one thing that's really nice on the WE, the hk3p, and the Toka Marui, which obviously the others are all based from, is they did replicate something which is really unique about this pistol, which is the rotating barrel. Now, you guys who are into your airsoft might know what I'm talking about here, or even if you're into your real steel, you'll probably immediately know what I'm talking about. But basically, it's a system that they used for unlocking the action on the real steel pistol, which they faithfully replicated in this, which is a really nice touch. Now, if we cock the hammer, I can show you how that works. So essentially, when the pistol is fired and the upper or the slide starts to recoil, it starts to come back and rotates the outer barrel. And you can see that rotating there. Now, what's going on here is there is a cam groove in the bottom of the hop unit that sort of ties the hop unit outer barrel to the lower section with the recoil spring. I'll show you that in a moment. But there's a cam groove on here, and as the slide recoils, it rotates the outer barrel, and as it comes forward, it rotates and locks it back in place. It's a really cool little system that they didn't really have to replicate. They could have quite easily just left this in place and just had the slide recoil and no one would have noticed. But the fact that they did this was really, really cool. So let's have a quick look at how that works. To strip the pistol, you want to lock the slide to the rear. And it's a bit like a Glock in that you pull these two tabs either side here downwards like you do on a Glock. And then when you release the slide, it flies forwards and comes off the lower. Now, that cam groove thing I was talking about, let's have a quick look at how that works. I'll try and get this out without separating it, if I can do that. Okay. So again, a little bit different from Marui and WE and all this lot in this case, because this main assembly, which holds the recoil guide rod, all comes out together. You can remove these parts completely. You can obviously take the guide rod out, and the barrel comes out of this assembly as well, which is nice. Notice the barrel has a hop unit attached with the wheels for adjusting hop on this one. Quite a lot like the newer style Glock ones, which are on 2 little cam gears. The hk3p is the same deal as well. But this was the bit I was talking about with the cam groove on it. And you can see as I push that back and forth, it rotates. And there is a cam lug on this part of the assembly and a cam groove on the outer barrel. And again, they didn't have to do this really. I'm sure no one in Airsoft would have noticed. But it was really nice they did that. They really didn't need to. If you're wondering, the Marui is exactly the same in this case. Again, WE copied the Marui completely here. It's a direct clone. The only thing which is nice on the WEs and the hk3ps compared to the Marui, if you're into that kind of thing, is these do have an internally threaded outer barrel. So you can fit a thread adapter in the end here and then run a tracer or something like that if you want to. Looking at the inside of the slide, it's just exactly the same as the Marui one. I took the Marui one apart, had a look, and it's identical. The only difference I would say is that the Marui, from what I remember, has a separate metal section here at the front which slots in, which funnily enough, if we look at some of the casting marks, you can see there's actually the groove here for it. And the metal insert basically slides in here just to stop the end of the slide breaking off. And you can see they didn't even bother trying to hide the fact that they copied it. It literally is one solid piece that slots in. They just ripped it off, basically. Good old WE. Blowback unit, again, pretty unremarkable. A really big nozzle here and a real nice, snappy return spring on that. The nozzle's unusually shaped as well. It's an oval shape, slightly larger on this side and narrower on the other side. Trying to get as much volume as possible, I guess. And it's a standard piston cup style piston head. The Marui, from what I checked out, was identical as well. So we'll put this back together. Again, this slides in and locks in place. And we'll put that back on this one in a moment. Now, if we look at the lower here, this is the Marui lower. We can see from the markings. Now, if I show you the hk3p lower, so we'll take this off. Again, this hk3p is a WE, just with markings on it. We can see these are identical. The internals, hopefully that will focus, are identical. The only difference is really is the Marui here has like a chrome plating on the trigger bar, which interacts with the slide here, which Marui do sometimes to try and reduce wear on the pistol. Whereas the WE and hk3p has just a black pot metal bar, which I assume the Marui is pot metal as well, but the plating obviously will help sort of it last longer. The WE, you can see here, some of the internal parts of the hammer unit are chrome plated or nickel plated, whereas on Marui they're not, which is unusual. Marui usually do some kind of coating to help wear, but honestly, I've not had one of these break on me before. I had one once before which had really weak recoil, and it was because one of the parts of the Marui slide had cracked internally. And again, that was part of the reason for going for the metal slide, to try and make it last a bit longer, really. The main difference you get between WE and the Marui is the finish on the metal parts. The WE or hk3p is all painted. And you can see from the hammers here, this is the WE with a hk3p, a painted hammer and a painted guide slide assembly. And on the Toka Marui, it is some form of coating, either it's been blacked or something along those lines, chemical blacked. But as far as I can tell, it's not painted at all. So let's pop these back together and we'll talk about some other interesting parts of this pistol. A few other interesting notes. The recoil guide rod and the recoil spring, as far as I could tell, was damn near the same on the Toka Marui versus the hk3p or WE. Hop unit and barrel, again, identical as far as I could tell. This one does have a slightly upgraded outer barrel in here, whereas the hk3p is a standard brass. One of the other interesting parts is very much like a few other more modern pistols, you can interchange back straps on these. To do that, we'll release the magazine, and there's a button on the end here which you push in, and then you can release your back strap. You have these kind of locking lugs here. We can change that out for a different back strap. This is from the hk3p, and this will just demonstrate how much of a clone this is. I can pop that on there, press the button in, and that clips straight on. That's locked in place, and that is a direct fit, giving me a much bigger grip. To release, again, obviously just press this in, and you can pop this off. He says, like so. There we go. And then putting this back on again, pushing it into place, press the button down, and then it locks back in place. So let's look at functionality then. What have we got on this pistol? So it's a double action trigger pull on this one. So with the hammer forwards, you can pull the trigger and the pistol will fire. Obviously slide lock on here. If we drop the magazine on the metal magazine release, we've got our Toka Marui magazine here, all marked up. Toka Marui. No markings on the base plate at all. That's just how they come. Gas routers. I think these, if I'm correct, take the same gas routers as the SIG do. So the SIG 226. So that's a nice little upgrade if you do choose to do it. But honestly, the blowback on these is phenomenal anyway. Even with the plastic slide, it's incredible. The metal slide is even better. So I don't think we really need to worry about nozzle seal. It's fantastic as it is. And one other feature with this particular pistol is the safety also doubles as a decocker. If we press this down, it decocks the pistol. Also then deactivates the trigger. Handy feature, not really anything we use a lot in Airsoft. However, it's nice they replicated that again. They probably didn't need to, but they did it anyway. So there we go then. In summary, we've got a Toka Marui pistol, and if you don't want to be spending Toka Marui money, you can buy a WE. It is the same pistol. So, what do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. Would you prefer to have the Toka Marui and have the kudos of having and running that, or are you quite happy to run a WE? Personally, I like them both. The WE, I have another variant of, which I will show you another time in another video, which does have some upgrades on it which aren't seen here. But personally, I like the WE. The fact that it's a direct clone means that obviously you don't have to spend Toka Marui money on what's essentially the same system. The markings are slightly better, the polymers are slightly better. However, who doesn't like a Toka Marui? They just run like clockwork. The detail's fantastic as well. Even on the small textured surfaces, it's really, really crisp. Whereas on the WE, being a clone, they're a bit wonky. So, but yeah, let me know what you think, guys. Any questions about the px4, fire away in the comments. Some of you guys have mentioned about doing some shooting videos of just like target work, seeing how accurate they are. This one I know has an upgraded outer barrel in it, so that may affect performance slightly, upgraded inner barrel, not outer barrel, sorry. So that may affect performance, but I will start doing some shooting target work to sort of check out what the accuracy is like on some of my pistols. But let me know which ones you'd want to see that on. Again, any questions on this, fire away in the comments. And I've got another video coming on the px4 with the other custom pistol I have, which has some interesting upgrades on, and I'll show you that another time. But any questions, fire in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.